The other day I was thinking to myself, my life is going so good right now. I'm done high school, I have a pretty close circle of friends, and I don't really have many responsibilities aside from work, and I like what I do for work, and I'm getting paid, obviously. I got a fridge full of alcohol, I have everything I could possibly want. And I realized, my life has never been this good. Something's off. Something bad is gonna happen. I just know it because my life is never this good. I'm never in this good of a mood. And, well, I was right. This is the story of when things went downhill for me. So, this story takes place literally yesterday. And on this day, like the last story I told, I was going to a party. And I was going with one of the same people from the last story. The guy I referred to as Trevor in the last story, you might remember. Anyways, he specifically requested that I refer to him as Laser Boy from now on. And I will link his channel in the description below, so go check it out if you want. Anyways, I drove to Laser Boy's house. He got in my car, and we headed off to this party. Now, it is worth mentioning that this party was in the next town over, so it was a bit of a drive, but no problem really. Well, actually, there was a problem, and that was that we had absolutely no idea where we were going. Well, we had some idea, but when we got to the area, we saw, crowds of kids our age just scattered around, and there was no one really gathered in any specific area. So first we went down this dirt road where we thought people were going to be, and then there was one person there and we asked where everyone was, and then he said, "Oh, they're out some park not far from here." So we went to that park and there were a few parked cars. There was also a cop car there though, so it seemed like nothing major was going to go down despite the decent number of people that were gathered here. There were about 20 people. Now, you remember Jason from the last story time? At this point, we decided to call him for help. So we called him, and he recommended following someone on SnapMap because someone who Laserboy knew was planning to attend this party as well. So we thought, okay, that's a good idea. So we went back to this dirt road where we originally were because that's near where Laserboy's friend was. So we parked the car on the dirt road, and we looked around, and it was totally dark by this point, by the way. And we saw some lights, and we were like, wait, this can't be right, because those lights were coming from the end of someone's driveway. But a bunch of cars were going into that area, so we thought, okay, this is probably the place. Now, just to paint a picture here, this town was mostly like fields and like farming communities. This driveway was a dirt driveway. There was also a shared driveway, and we were going to the house at the end of the driveway where there were a bunch of people. So we pull up, and it turns out that everyone had just gathered in this girl's yard, I guess. She had like a gazebo sort of setup going on. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. This girl's inviting a bunch of people in. Now, I was gonna go up to her and introduce myself because I'm not about to come onto her property when I don't even know her name and she doesn't even know my name. But before me and my friend even have the chance to do that, another car pulls up, and it's the girl's mom. And this woman, she gets out of her shitbox car with a cigarette in her hand, and she's like, okay, everybody's gotta go. And I'm like, bruh, are you serious? We just got here and we're already getting kicked out? Like, wow. Wow. And she said something like, sorry guys, usually I'd be okay with this, but I worked a really long shift and I need some sleep, so y'all gotta go. Anyways, before we left, I actually ended up meeting someone who went to my school, so that's kinda cool. Anyways, me and Laserboy, we walked back down this long driveway and we crossed the street into the dirt road where I'd parked my car. And now I had no idea where we were going to go because it just seemed like a wild goose chase at this point. No one could really agree on a meeting point for this party. And I'm just trying to figure out who even organized this thing to begin with. Like, how did this even start? Anyways, as I'm getting in my car, I'm getting ready to start on our adventure once again, this girl who I had never seen before comes and taps on my glass, and I open my door and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, Can we get a ride from you guys? Now, for this next part of the story, it's important to understand the context. I live in British Columbia, right? And in British Columbia, when you pass your first driver's test, you get what's called an N. And while you have your N license, you can have yourself in the car and one other passenger, unless it's a family member, which obviously Laser Boy wasn't. So, him and I in the car was like the absolute maximum limit for how many people I could legally have in this car. And here comes 4 other people, and my car only has 3 other seats, by the way, so they all like cram in the back. And they say they all need a ride to the local high school, which is apparently where everyone decided to meet. And now I already knew that was a bad idea, like really a high school, but I wasn't about to abandon them because, I don't know, sometimes I'm just too nice. I need to start being meaner to people, honestly. So here we are, 6 of us in the car, and I was nervous to say the least. Obviously, who wouldn't be? And they were being so goddamn loud, like they were all so drunk, and they were talking about stuff that I shouldn't probably be talking about on this channel, so I'm gonna not disclose the details of the conversation they were having. But anyways, we ended up making it to the high school A-okay. And now at this point you're probably thinking, but Charlie, I thought this story was about how you got pulled over. Yeah, I'm getting there, okay? I'm getting there. So there's this decent crowd of people just gathered around this high school, so we decided to just chill for a little bit, talk to some people. I actually ended up running into someone who I graduated with. Small world, I guess. So anyways, after about a half an hour, I think, some kid comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, you have a car, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he says, "Can you give me a ride home? I'm willing to pay $20 if you can drive me and my friend home." And he lived in a town a few miles away, so, the buses weren't running this late at night, and obviously catching a taxi would be hellishly expensive. So he just asked me if he could pay me $20 to give him and his friend a ride. And I agreed since I figured it wouldn't take me very long, and I was about to go home anyways. And right after we finish having this conversation, a police car pulls into the school parking lot, and the door swings open. This policewoman steps out of her car, and she's just in a mood. She just starts yelling at us, "All of you need to get off the property now!" And I'm like, "Okay, you don't gotta tell me twice." So I tell this guy and his friend that I can't have them getting in my car in front of the police officers, right? Because that would be over the legal limit. And so I told them to just go a bit down the road and then I'll pull over and pick them up. So that's what they did. Me and Laser Boy, we got into my car, then we pulled out of the parking lot and we met them down the road, and then they got in the back seat. And so at this point, I was next level nervous. I'm nervous even just retelling this story. So here's what happened. We drive along, we think there's no police following us because we look back and there's a taxi. We come up to a 4-way stop, make a left turn, this taxi's no longer behind us, and we start down the road, and then I look in my rearview mirror, and I see red and blue lights behind me. And I'm all like, God damn it. So I pull over to the side of the road, and I am yelling many profanities, because there is a fine for having too many people in your car, and it is in the hundreds of dollars, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, I might have to look that up. But anyways, I'm like, I'm so screwed. My life flashed before my eyes. Because, I should probably mention this. This wasn't my car, it was my mom's car. So, yeah, if they found out I got a ticket, I would be in shit. Okay, I was in for, like, hell from my parents if I got a ticket. So, the guy in the back who asked me for a ride, he was, trying to keep me calm and whatever. He just said, just face forward, keep your hands on the wheel, all that stuff. And after what felt like an eternity of just sitting on the side of the road, waiting for this cop to come out of his car and give me the business, he finally comes up, marches to my window. I already had it rolled down, you already know. And you want to know the funny part about this story? I wasn't even getting pulled over because I had too many people in my car. I was getting pulled over because I forgot to turn my lights on. You can't even begin to imagine how stupid I felt right then and there. We had been driving the whole night, and this was the first time I had forgotten to turn my lights on. But that's probably because we were just in a hurry to leave the parking lot. So anyways, this police officer, he asks for my license and my name and my birthday and all that. He asked me if I was the owner of the vehicle, which I wasn't. Then he went back into his car with my license to scan it or whatever. I don't really know what they do with it. So I look back to face my two passengers, the boy who had asked me for the ride, and his friend, who was this girl. She was just hitting her vape, which was pretty funny. So I asked them, "Do you think I'm going to get in trouble for this?" And the boy said, "Probably not, but if you do get a ticket, I'll help you pay it off," which was a huge relief for me. This guy was already offering to pay me for the ride, and the fact that he would also be willing to pay if I got a ticket was just such a huge relief for me. It made me feel slightly less terrible about the situation. So the cop returns, and it's time for me to hear my fate. And despite the fact that I didn't have my lights on, and despite the fact that I had more people in my car than I was allowed to have, this police officer, he just has good in his heart, and he lets me off with a warning. I let out the biggest sigh of relief that I've probably ever let out, because I got off so lucky. Granted, it's probably because this was my first offense ever, but despite that, I was still beyond grateful that I was let off with just a warning, because that could have been a lot worse. So, I ended up dropping the boy and the girl off at their place. Well, I don't know if it was both their place. I don't know if they were like friends or siblings or if they were dating. I don't know. But I did get $20 for my service, which made it kind of worth it in a way. And after that, I dropped Laser Boy off at home, and then I drove home, and that ordeal was finally over. So that brings us up to now. If I could give a moral to this story, it would definitely be make sure you have your lights on when you're driving at night, and don't have more people in your car than you're legally allowed to have. Although, in this situation, usually police officers make an exception because it's late at night and whatever, and most people don't have a ride home from parties, but still, be safe on the roads. Definitely do not want to have to pay for a ticket because that can really dent your bank account, especially if you're a teenager like me. Anyways, go subscribe to Laserboy. I'll leave his channel linked in the description below. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.